This is the Music Factory's podcast. I think volume. Well, I'm not sure what volume we're on, but we've got Jimmy James here. Jimmy James and I relatively grew up together. I mean, more or less. I mean, as far as, both being in Seattle at the same time and coming up and playing music and being guitar players. And I had the privilege of watching him really grow and really blossom into an incredible musician and travel all over the world and develop his own style. And we're honored to have him here to talk about music. We're going to start with that. So, hey man, how you doing?
Just got done doing a session earlier, so I'm just like, hanging tough and, just enjoying the breeze and playing guitar, that sort of thing, as we all are doing, No, I mean, not everybody's playing guitar, but just kind of hanging tough and staying still and kind of that whole, mumbo jumbo, but just kind of hanging with the, just hanging out, taking time, thinking, understanding life and what it means and all that other good stuff. And, it just gives you time to think and reflect and reevaluate what you need to do in life, I guess, So that's where I'm at, though.
Yeah, man. The Music Factory is all about education and music and teaching music to people of all ages, teaching all styles, all levels. And some of this interview and checking people out is like finding out what it was like when you first started, like when you first picked up an instrument, and like when was that in your life, and was there anything that led to that? Like, for me, it was my dad's record collection, which he had at my house, and I had access to that, and I listened to that record collection just over and over again when I was really young, and I always wanted to play,
Right.
How did you get started?
Yeah, I mean, how to get started? Well, I remember when I first heard My Girl, and hearing the lead guitar line known by Robert White, who was a funk brother. Of course, I didn't know about his name until many, many long years later, but that guitar line was the thing that opened it up for me. And I Second That Emotion by Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. And I first heard that, on the radio and stuff like that, and it really made sense to me. And then later on, my sister, rest in peace, had a lot of like record collection. She listened to a lot of classic rock. And so I remember she had Jimi Hendrix smash hits on tape, on cassette.
Smash hits.
And the first tunes I heard was, I heard Foxy Lady first, and I heard Purple Haze. And Purple Haze scared me, like, beyond belief, because I never heard anything like it, because it was really heavy for what it was, and I thought it was current when I first heard it. So I was like, oh, this must be current. And I thought it was like part of like her heavy metal collection, because that's what it sounded like to me, Of course, I later found out when I got older, I was just like, oh, God, I want to find that guy, Jimi Hendrix. I want to see him live. Where can I find him? And my sister's like, he passed back in 1970. And I was like, no. And I was really disappointed. I said, he can't be from the 60s. He doesn't sound like that. I thought he was current. He's from this era, because he said heavy metal to me. And she's like, nope, he's from the 60s. And I was like, and then I had to go look back, and I was really disappointed. So, I missed him by how many years? 11 years. I was born 11 years later after, which is sad. It was even crazy. Think about it now. September 18th of this year will actually mark 50 years since Jimi Hendrix has been gone.
Wow.
50 years to the day. Yeah.
That's right. That is true.
So it's been 50 years. And he's still strong as ever, But yeah, I mean, that was the stuff. Listening to a lot of blues guitar players. Like, I really was big into Chuck Berry a lot. I liked him. I mean, he's still my hero, all through and through. And I mean, those were those guys: Arthur Big Boy Crudup, John Lee Hooker, B.B. King, Pat O'Hare, people like that. and Herbert Sumlin. I mean, the list goes on, and stuff like that. So,
and so I remember when I was, I don't even know how old, 14
you
or
were 15.
15.
You were 15.
All right, so I was 15. I had a band.
Acidophilus Culture.
McPeak and Ethan Lawton on drums, and play these house parties. And of course, I was also a big fan of the blues and Hendrix and all that, and we would play these house parties. And I remember you would come along. You must have been what, 12, 13 years old. You're coming.
I was 12. Yeah.
You're coming down, and you're just checking it out, and you were just, man, you just wanted to play so much. Like, I think you had just picked up the guitar around that time. When was it that you picked up the guitar?
Around that time, actually.
Yeah.
Because I remember correctly, I remember you guys did one of your rehearsals at Ethan's house.
And you came.
And you had a beard then. I remember you had a beard, and you were like 15, and I remember you were there. You had a blue Stratocaster. I remember exactly with a rosewood fretboard.
That's right.
I don't know. That's how much I could go back and remember all this stuff.
Yeah,
and you guys.
It was like an unfinished room. It was like kind of like a.
Yep, it was like a laundry room next to it and stuff with a concrete floor.
Yeah, concrete floor.
And over there, Mount Baker, as I remember, and you, Ethan, and Forrest had played like some Band of Gypsy stuff. I remember you guys played Message to Love, as I remember correctly. And I was like following around. I was like tagging along. I was like, oh, da da da. And I was like, oh, I want to try this and try that. And I tried to sit in, and I had this big, huge, was the solid state amplifier PV. And I couldn't understand why it wasn't loud enough. And you had this music man that was sitting on a chair.
Yeah, my same size. Both amps probably about the same size, right?
No, actually, yours was smaller than mine.
Smaller, yeah.
It was smaller. And I said, why is it so loud? Why is it so loud? You're like, it's tube. And after that, I learned about tube amps after that. and then you guys played a house party at Morgan Hammer's house over there on the corner, that White House. And I remember sitting in there and watching you guys play Message to Love and some other stuff in between as Acidophilus Culture. I always remember the name.
Yeah.
And I would, and then once in a while I would come in there and I found acoustic guitar and play that. I was like, wow, they're playing Message to Love from the Band of Gypsies album. Whoa, that's crazy. So I would sit there, I would tag along and stuff like that. And then I also asked you how to I remember one time asking, how do you use a wah-wah pedal? You're like, oh, you step on it, it does this, And so I remember that real well. I remember all those details from way back when. So.
Yeah, man. I remember. Yeah, you would call up, and we would just kind of talk about music. You just wanted to play so much, and I mean, it's amazing that you picked it up and you've just taken it so far. I remember also. I think it was a talent show. I'm not sure if we played, but I know that you did the national anthem at a talent show. Do you remember something like that at Summit?
I think so. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember doing that. Yeah, and then there was also you live not too far away because you were off of 65th,
right?
But going way east. If I remember what street, I can't remember the street correctly. Now that's one thing I can't remember, but yeah, I remember you lived on 65th going east, and you had like some Marshall amps sit at your house. I remember.
Yeah.
I was like, man, how'd you get these? Oh, man, I got these over here, man. I got these amps. I was like, whoa, he got a Marshall. And I had never seen him up close, you know what I mean? I always seen clips of Jimi Hendrix playing them. I was like, I've never seen him up close before. You had one. So I was like, first time I ever seen the amp, But it was fantastic, though, But, yeah, Summit, because Ethan went to Summit.
I
remember, and Forrest and you went to Roosevelt.
I think Forrest went to Nova. Which just anybody who's listening knows, like an alternative school. Roosevelt was a high school down the street from my house. Summit was a middle school, I think, which was nearby. And we all went to different schools, but we played music together. A lot of the bands at that time, I think at that time period, it was less likely that you would find somebody to play music with from your school. like not so many people played as they do now. I think a lot more people play now. You would be able to sort of put your feelers out throughout the whole city, and if someone played, you'd find them. You know?
Right. Yeah, because you guys, I mean, that's how, like, through you guys, that's how I met a lot of people from Garfield and all that, because there was like you guys did a party, something like a concert somewhere at like a school not too far away, like it was like a soccer field, and I think all the heads showed up, and it was like everybody from Garfield and all these people, and everybody was hanging out with one another. That's how I got to know a lot of those people, you know. And Ethan, I knew because he was a couple grades higher than me, so. But I was always hanging out with the older kids anyway, so it was just like always fun, you know. But yeah, because he was also into Earth, Wind, and Fire a lot as well, and I remember he had all the Earth, Wind, and Fire record sleeves all over his, you know, his room. So, you know, it was always something, man. But you know, now he plays banjo now.
Oh, mandolin, banjo, yeah, man. He's in.
Yeah,
he can he's kind of one of those guys who could probably do whatever he wants. Right. When you picked up the guitar, how do you remember, like, did you teach yourself? Did you, did you take any lessons? And if you, as far as if you did teach yourself, what was your method that you remember when you first picked it up? Like, I have some memories for myself, but what was it like for you?
I would just listen to records, or I go and watch other guitar players like yourself and other people, like, go watch out how they're doing certain things, like, oh man, they're doing this, oh, they're doing that, and I pick up off that, and I pick up off of, just like notes on the record, like I never knew I still don't quite know all the names of every chord there is, it's just kind of like, I just hear it and I'm like, oh, okay, I sounded out, At first I didn't know how to really find out like what the name of the chord was. Like if it was diminished, I'd be like, oh, it's this funny chord. And that's how I remembered how the name of it, until other cats would say, oh no, you're playing a diminished, or you're playing this, or you're playing a 7 sharp 9. And I would just like, E funny chord, E minor funny chord, or E major funny chord, and that was the only thing I could remember, because that was the easiest thing you could remember. It's like hearing a minor, I was like, oh, minor sounds very serious, a little sad. And so I'm like, oh, those are the sad, serious chords. And then major was more like, that's the happy, sunshine chords, And that's how I remembered them until now, till later on, I start to understand what the lingo was, the technical lingo for everything was. But it was just like, yeah, it was a happy chord, it's a happy chord, stuff like that. So, but, everybody has their different thing. And I just, like I said, I just listen, I watch everybody else, and picked up on, try to at least pick up on what everybody's doing, as everybody else is, we're all trying to do, at some point, so, yeah.
That to me, that's so important, because, I personally, I did learn myself as well, like mostly by ear, it was shortly after learning by ear for a couple of years that I did have to take lessons, only because I made it into the jazz band at Roosevelt. And then I had to take lessons because I had no idea what was going on. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But before that, it was like, for me, it was like I heard Stevie Ray Vaughan and Hendrix, among other records in my dad's collection. And I was like, that's what I want to do. But I also was like, well, who did Hendrix listen to? That got him to where he was, And I went on who those people were and would study it. And at that time also, there was no tabs or no way to look anything up online. And not only that, like you and I, we grew up in an era, in some ways I feel like we're like holders of a torch in a way, because we grew up in an era when you couldn't just get access to the information so easily on the internet. Like you could just search, what are the tabs for this? So I never thought about things in that way. And also to be able to have a cassette tape or a vinyl, like that's what we grew up with even before CDs, at least for me. And like, if you wanted to have some music, if you heard music or heard of music and wanted it, the only way to listen to it was if you bought it, or if you had the cassette tape, or if you had the record. If you didn't have the tape or have the record, you don't have the music. You can't get it anywhere. So if you get it, it became like, I think, more sacred in a way, like I have this tape And so when I listened to music, it was this tape all the time. And it was kind of a pain to like fast forward to what songs I wanted. So I listened to the whole album. You know, if I had tape, I listened to the whole album. And with vinyl too. But I think nowadays when people are learning music, it's so easy to get so much information from so many places that people forget the most important place is the spirit of the music, the soul of the music, you know,
right.
which you can only really get from hearing it and feeling it. So to sit there when I was learning music and when we were both learning music and you want to learn something, you would like try to play it and then you would hit rewind on the tape, you know, and then you would hit play and then try it again and do it over and over. But you're getting you're not just getting what fret is this or what note is this, but you're getting like, well, what's the feeling that's happening there, you know? Like I feel like we're so lucky in a way to be, you know, one of the last generations that was kind of exposed to music in that way, you know. But
yeah. Oh no, I'll say go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Just saying, like listening to you talk, it just makes me think of that, you know. And it also, I'd say for anyone that hasn't heard you play, that's listening to this interview, or anyone who has heard you play, I think they'll know when they see you and when they have seen you that you're someone who feels like every note you play. You know, you're playing it because it's what you're feeling. Like it's the feeling and the notes are like one and the same, you know? I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when I think about like what you said earlier about tapes and stuff. It's like I remember, like, you know, I could afford no disc, you know, no Discman, you know, because Discman was like $100 or more. They were really expensive in those days, and so I still had a Walkman, you know, so I would go get one of them empty tapes, you know, or something, or some tapes that are not being used, and erase it and and make mixtapes, you know, of certain records, you know, and then I go listen to that, you know, and uh, and it was always fun to listen to, of course, until the batteries ran down and everything ran in a different pitch than what it is, you know, because you get those situations where you're like, you can learn the song and it's like, if the record player is half off or not the right pitch, then you're playing in the key pitch down, and then everyone's like, no, that's not the key. You're like, yeah, but then you have to readjust that, or, you know, your tape run out or whatever, you know, and then, you know, like you said, rewind the tape. You have to go rewind it, listen to it again, and see what it is. And a lot of times, you won't even rewind it back to that specific part. You almost rewind it almost to the very beginning. So you're actually learning the song again from the top, you know. So now you're getting through it, you know. And if you really wanted that song, you'll rewind it as much as you can, you know. Of course, sometimes it'll break or shrivel up, but other than that, it's all good, you know. It's always, that's the fun thing, you know. And I mean, I don't have CDs really, like not anymore, you know. I mean, I don't really listen to them, but I mean, records and tapes, you know, and stuff like that. Imagine if you had to go back through 8-tracks, that would be tough, because 8-tracks, you can't rewind them. You know, once they go through, that's it. So those were tough, you know. And I've played one of those before. I said, nah, I'll never get one of these. And I hope they never, you know, hope they don't bring them back, you know.
Yeah.
Similar function or form, but you know, it is what it is, though.
So how about you just came back from Europe, and can you what was like a normal week like in Europe? What's that experience like? And did you have any favorite cities or favorite places that you played?
You know what? I can't choose just one, because I like them all. You know, I like them all, and it's just like when you go there, there's a big difference. You know, there's a huge difference. It's the culture is so different. They have a culture. And I hate to say it, but America doesn't have really much of a culture. Because if we do have a culture, we have something for like 20, 30 years, and then we tear it down, you know, where they have buildings that have been around for, you know, centuries, you know, like Leaning Tower of Pisa, you know, it's been around since what, the Middle Ages, and it's still there, you know, and they don't, like, we played in a place in Germany in this old cave that was older than America.
Oh yeah.
You know, was older than America, and it's been there, and they never turn it down, you know. And it's like the thing I noticed, Europe makes you slow down and think about things. It's like, you know, people sit down at the table and they eat together. They don't go through a drive-through. They put down their phones. They sit there and they have an appetizer. They, you know, and then they talk and they drink the wine, and then after that, then you know the other course comes along, and they sit down and talk and they eat that between bites, and they have a conversation, and then the next thing, and everybody's enjoying themselves for hours, you know, on a meal or something like that, which is fantastic, you know, and I've been to different places. I've been to the UK. I mean, we were supposed to go to the UK more, but we've been to London. We've been to um, we've been to London. We've been to Switzerland. We've been to Italy. We've been to Germany. I mean, all of them except for Sweden, you know. But it's a different world, you know. It's a different world, and it's nice to see, and it's nice to see people respect those older cultures that have been around for, you know, almost, you know, for over 1,000 years, you know, and that's great. Like, building has been around since what, 1100, you know. It's like, whoa, those stories that the walls could tell if they could talk, you know, like what they've seen, you know. It's amazing, you know. It gives you a history lesson. It makes you accept that we shouldn't always just throw things away because it's like, oh, this is old, so we just throw it away. It's like, that shouldn't be.
Yeah, know? And also remind
old and,
you know, when you're just in one country, especially the United States, and you don't travel too much around the world, there's whole other ways of approaching things and doing things, and interacting with people and appreciating things and respecting things, and just in general, there's just all different ways of approaching life that are all, you know, equally
right.
valid. It's just that you just don't know that they're an option, you know.
I just say, you know what, live every day like it's your last, and make it count, you know.
Yeah.
Make it account, and you know, don't waste time getting, you know, troubling over petty stuff. Just look at what you got now and try to enjoy every minute of it, and live 100%, laugh 100%, eat 100%, just be 100%.
I think with everything going on, like, is there something, do you think music can play a role in it?
Well, it depends on how you know, it depends on what you're saying, you know, what you want to say. It's like, long as it's coming from the heart and it's coming from a thoughtful place and it's honest, and that's the main thing. It's got to be honest, that it's coming from a sincere place. And it's just not, you know, if you're going to talk about it, you're going to write about it, then you got to live it. You know, if you're not going to live it, then what's the point? You know, it doesn't come off that way. And music is supposed to inspire, and it's supposed to inspire a positive thing. That's a positive thing, not anarchy, not let's go kill each other and divide each other. Well, I don't like you because you don't look this way, or you do this way. It's not. That's not the way it is. It's like you hear a song, you hear something by Sly and the Family Stone, Everyday People, you know, and he's like, I'm an everyday people, and that's what he was talking about. You know, Curtis Mayfield made you think about the silliness that sometimes happens in you know, a lot of stuff that happens on both sides of, you know, and people get too out of themselves, and you just like warns them, okay, before you do this is what's going to happen, you know. And it puts a more, it makes it more cerebral where you're thinking, and you're like, you put two and two together, and it's like, man, that makes sense, you know. He's done songs like that. There was a song called Mighty Mighty, you know, and he really, like, you listen to the whole song from start to finish, he basically tells you everything that's going on. And that was at the time he said it, in 1971, you know, but he's not even here. He would have been 78 years old, you know, along with Jimi Hendrix, because they were both born the same year. And it's still relevant now, more so than at the time he said it, you know. And those are things, you know. Marvin Gaye did What's Happening. You know, he did the album What's Happening, Brother. He did What's Going On and all that stuff. Inner City Blues, Mercy, Mercy Me, you know, because of what his brother said in the war, you know, and he talked about that. And those are things that inspired and brought people together in a way that made them think, okay, let's get rid of all our silliness and let's pull ourselves together. That's why there were shows like All in the Family or The Jeffersons and stuff like that, because it broadcast to the world the silliness of, and the stuff that people wouldn't say in front of other people but behind closed doors,
Mm-hmm.
And it made people look at themselves and was like, whoa, I've been doing that. So they get themselves together, you know? And it was a different world then, you know, and they were honest about it, you know. Well, now it's almost like you have to censor everything, censor this and censor that. I can't say this because this is going to be politically correct. It's like, come on, you know. Even the like the stopping of the music industry. Imagine if Curtis Mayfield had stopped, you know. Imagine Marvin Gaye had stopped with all this. Would have been any music created? Probably not. They didn't take a day off. Neither did look at Bob Marley. He got shot, and they tried to kill him, but he didn't take a day off. He didn't take a day off.
Mm.
He got himself bandaged up. He got back on that stage within not the next day, and went out to perform. He's like, if they don't take a day off, why should I?
Mm.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, negativity doesn't take a day off, so why does positivity get to take a day off?
Nah, that's beautiful. I like it.
You know,
mm-hmm.
that's just how it should be. You know, and it's like, I think there's a more divide going on now than ever, because now people are like, this person over here, I don't like him because of the color of his skin, and now it's reversing roles, and people are doing that. And it's like, what's the point? We're not getting nowhere by doing that. We're not getting nowhere by yelling at people. It's better if everybody just sits around and tries to understand one another and starts to understand, okay, this is where I'm coming from. Because all this stuff, the root of a lot of problems, has to stem somewhere. Maybe it's from back in somebody's youth or, you know, childhood or whatnot. But at the end of the day, I think people should sit back and listen to one another and not be like, you're not valid because you're race. Well, you're not valid, or, you know, and it's just, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Maybe that's just my way of thinking. You know, some people may not agree with that, but that's just how I look at things.
Would you have you ever thought about making a solo album or, you know, record?
I've been asked to do that. You know, I've been asked to do that. You know, and
you might, and Kings. Huh? Well, is that like what you would do with the Dap King crew that you said you want?
With anybody really. Like, it's just like it could be any of the cats that I think about. You know, it's just like I just got to figure out like where I'm going. You know, like what do I really want to do? You know, because I've never really thought about it. You know, I've never really sat down and thought about making one. You know, I'm always like doing with others, you know, their records or what have you, you know. But it's like, if I do decide to do it, which I'm sure I will, you know, I just got to figure out like, what do I, you know, what is it that I feel, you know, what's that coming from me, you know, what's that illuminating, you know, that sort of thing. But I mean, maybe it's not even thinking about it. It's just more of just like, okay, you're feeling it. Because, you know, right now, you know, the way things are going, there's a lot of static going on, you know, and it's more static now, you know, than it was in that time, you know, but the static is super heavy, you know, so it's like, okay, you know, it's about to raise our hair off, you know, and,
yeah,
you know, get attracted, you know, and stuff like that, like, you know, but yeah, there's a lot of static going on. So it's just like, I gotta figure out like, okay, where do we go from here, you know? And I think about it, and there's times I sit down and I just write random stuff to myself, you know, and if I hear certain things, I'm like, I want to try that, you know, I want to do this, because I'm feeling a certain way, you know, and certain moods, you know, I could be around certain people and it makes me feel like playing a certain thing, you know, and then if I'm around something else, I feel like playing a certain thing then, you know, but I don't know what that may be. It's just until it happens. When it starts happening, then I can flow with it, you know. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to get long-winded on that, but
no.
I tend to get back to it.
Cool, man. Well, I think that's pretty good. I think we got everything we need. Great to do it again.
Yeah, definitely.
Fun. And also, it'd be fun to just do a session with you where we talk about your style, because you've really dialed in your style. I mean, you really have a really special way of playing the guitar, and again, it really has been it's been a pleasure to watch you evolve over the years and really just kind of really sink deeper and deeper into something really, really special. So
thank you.
And for everybody that's listening as well, we're going to be doing a Masters series, and if you want to take lessons, if he's available with Jimmy James, we can set that up. And that's something we're going to be getting into pretty soon. So stand by for that information. That's it. Thanks for coming. Thanks for doing this.
Oh man, no problem at all, man. Anytime, man. I probably don't know how much tape you would. Well, no, it's not. I keep saying tape. I don't know how to say tape, but I could do this all day. So pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do a series. You're in the club, so we'll get going.
All right. Sounds good to me.
All right, man. Well,
all right.
Take care of yourself and try to stay positive. And I'm glad you're keeping yourself busy. And just let me know if there's anything I can do for you.
Okay, sounds good.
All right then.
All right, I'll catch up with you then.
Okay, cheers, man.
Cheers.